Thank you for joining us for this really important event and announcement. So good afternoon. Appreciate you dedicating the time to be here. My name is Paul Mazerolle, and I'm privileged to be the President and Vice-Chancellor of UNB. I do want to begin by respectfully acknowledging that our university, UNB, stands on traditional Wolastoqey land. The lands of Wabanaki people are recognized in a series of peace and friendship treaties to establish an ongoing relationship of peace and friendship and mutual respect between equal nations. The river that runs by our university is known as Wolastoq, along which live the Wolastoqey, the people of the beautiful and bountiful river. And that river, Wolastoq, is also called the St. John River. Again, thank you all for being here, and I just want to take a moment to also acknowledge some of our distinguished guests. Of course, especially the Honourable Dominic LeBlanc, Minister of Public Safety, Democratic Institutions and Intergovernment Affairs for the Government of Canada. Thank you, Minister, for being here. The Honourable Frank McKenna, Deputy Chair of the TD Securities, founder of the extraordinary McKenna Institute. Thank you, Dr. McKenna, for being here. The Honourable Alison Townsend, the Minister for Post-Secondary Education, Training and Labour with the Government of New Brunswick. Welcome. Thank you for being here. The Minister, the Honourable Luke Randall, the Minister responsible for Opportunities in New Brunswick. Thank you, Minister, for being here. Of course, we have our local member, David Kuhn, leader of the Green Party of New Brunswick and MLA for Fredericton, Lincoln. Welcome. Thank you for being here. A lot of other distinguished guests. I want to acknowledge Tom Gribbins, the Chair of the UNB Board of Governors. Thank you, Tom. And our Dean of Computer Science, Luigi Benedicente. Thank you, Luigi, for being here. And again, welcome local supporters, students, faculty, friends of the university. Thank you for joining us. We're very pleased to be gathered today for a very exciting announcement that will positively impact the University of New Brunswick and our CIC, the Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity, and our province, as well as further solidify our standing as leaders in cutting-edge cybersecurity research. Cybersecurity, as many of us would be aware, is one of the most pressing issues of our time around the world and here at home. Malicious cyber activity continues to pose some of the most serious threats to Canada's national security and Canada's economic prosperity. Part of taking strong action to protect our society and our assets is continuing to generate new knowledge and technological advancements that address cyber threats and provide comprehensive training programs that build a skilled cybersecurity workforce for the future. UNB is uniquely prepared to answer that call. The Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity, the CIC at UNB, is a comprehensive, multidisciplinary training and research hub with the mission of providing thought leadership and connectivity for the Canadian cybersecurity ecosystem. Since its establishment in 2017, the CIC has offered and developed multiple R&D partnerships, research and development partnerships, offered training and workshops. They've filed industry patents. They've developed startup companies. They've organized an annual international conference series, and they've continued to provide critical cybersecurity information to Canadian stakeholders. The CIC's expertise is wide-ranging and continuously advancing, but broadly speaking, it's about identifying problems and finding practical solutions to address them. The success of the CIC in New Brunswick cybersecurity cluster helped our university and province become established leaders in cybersecurity, recognized by both the federal government and private sector players. And I know for those of us who've traveled overseas and met with other cybersecurity entities, we get reminded of the recognition of the significance of the CIC internationally. This is something that we've known here for quite some time, but it's time to share the good news of the work being done at the CIC and the broader sector with a wider audience and present made in New Brunswick solutions to the problems facing our country as a whole. And that's one of the many reasons why we're here today, and that's why this announcement is so welcomed. And it's now my great honor and privilege to invite Minister LeBlanc to the podium.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Bon après-midi. Dr. Mazerolle, thank you for welcoming me back to my alma mater as well. Last time we were together, it was for an important announcement on the future home of the UNB Law Faculty. My wife, Jolene, is with me today. It's sort of a mix of holiday and work yesterday and today, but for me to be here with you on the campus for this important event is absolutely terrific. So thank you, Dr. Mazerolle, for having us. It's the first time I have an opportunity with my colleagues from the provincial government, Ministers Townsend and Randall, to be together at an announcement. Your assumption of these important responsibilities, I think, will be very good for our province, and I know that our government is very happy and excited about the opportunities to continue to work with the province of New Brunswick. David, I'm happy to see you. It was le 15 août à Richibouctou, where we celebrated together this summer. I'm happy to see you. This is Acadian Remembrance Day. C'est le jour du souvenir acadien. Jolene et moi, on constaté ça en 1758. Au-delà de 350 personnes sont décédées, Acadiens et Acadiennes sont décédés lors d'un accident avec un navire qui faisait, entre autres, la déportation des Acadiens. So it's a moment for us to think about the Acadian deportation on what is now known as the Acadian Remembrance Day. And most of all, I'm extremely happy to be here with my friend Frank McKenna. Frank and I have been talking about how the Government of Canada could support the cybersecurity work done at UNB for many months. Frank, you know bureaucracy in government. It sometimes takes 18 months to do what we would have hoped to do in 16 weeks. And many cigars were smoked on your deck or my deck talking about how we could get to this point. And it is a down payment. It's a beginning of what I hope will be the Government of Canada's sustained support for a remarkable institute at UNB. And Frank, your personal generosity, the philanthropy that has exemplified your service since politics, and your personal commitment. I like to see the emails from the McKenna Institute, and it speaks to your continued commitment to the economic and social prosperity of this province. So for me to be here on a Friday with you before Christmas, Frank, is an enormous pleasure and a privilege. Your work continues to inspire me. It inspires many mutual friends we have. So I just wanted to say that to you before Christmas. To be back in New Brunswick with you at this moment that we've worked on together for some time is truly inspirational. And Dr. Ghorbani, the work that you do at the Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity is a source of pride also for all New Brunswickers. To think that such cutting-edge work can be done in a small province like ours is truly inspirational as well. As I said, the last time I was on the campus was for an important announcement about the law school, and I have hoped and worked with my colleagues for some time, including Jenica Atwin, who had another commitment today, wanted very much to be with us. I was with her on Wednesday in Ottawa, and she'd accepted months ago a particular. I actually thought about sliding it to 2:30. She might have been able to come, but I saw you'd already sent out the invitations, Paul. So Jenica is unable to join us. But I come, as Paul mentioned, with further news of how the Government of Canada can support the incredible work that's being done in cybersecurity here on the UNB campus. Since the establishment of the Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity, UNB has carved out for itself a place on the national and international stage as a leader in this critical security domain. Vous le savez mieux que moi, il existe des acteurs malveillants et des cybercriminels qui ciblent le Canada, menacent nos services essentiels, nos infrastructures essentielles, notre sécurité nationale et notre santé économique. Les cybermenaces sont de plus en plus sophistiquées, si bien que les cyberattaques sont devenues une menace avec laquelle nous devons composer quotidiennement et aucun secteur n'est à l'abri. Il est donc plus que jamais nécessaire que nous soyons prêts à confronter les menaces émergentes, que nos défenses soient en constante évolution, que nos infrastructures soient résilientes et que nous ayons des chercheurs et des chercheuses hautement qualifiés qui assure la sécurité des Canadiens et Canadiens en ligne. And that is exactly the work that's happening here at the Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity. It's integral to making Canada, Canadian businesses, Canadian governments resilient and able to fight back against emerging and increasingly serious cyber threats. As the Minister of Public Safety, I receive briefings from CSIS, from the RCMP, from the Communications Security Establishment, which is an agency of the Department of Defense, as all of you know, around emerging and active cyber threats to the national security and to the economic security of our country. And to think that my alma mater and the province of New Brunswick are contributing in such a significant way to the research, to the planning, to the preparation, to the innovation in this important area is absolutely fantastic. So that's why I am happy to announce the Government of Canada will support this work through a contribution of $10 million to create a new national cyber attribution data center here at UNB. With the funding from the Government of Canada, the Cyber Attribution Data Centre will spur innovation and research, like you've been doing here for a number of years, into cybersecurity issues in Canada. It'll equip and develop programs to train the next generation of artificial intelligence cybersecurity specialists. These specialists will be able to further reduce critical infrastructure disruptions to the services that Canadians rely on every single day. These include vital services such as telecommunications, water, electricity, banking, and healthcare. If you think about the impact that various cyber disruptions have had, some weren't the result of malicious attacks, some were just technological failures or glitches that happen in an increasingly interconnected economy. But think of what it meant when Rogers had that big outage across the country. Think of what it meant to 911 service operators in various parts of the country. You only realize the extent of the interconnection and therefore of the vulnerability of our country and our critical infrastructure when incidents like this happen. So this $10 million investment from the Government of Canada, as I said, I hope is a down payment. The thing that I continue to work on, and I'm confident that we can come back with further news, I hope soon, is to locate personnel from the Government of Canada. Federal public servants, whether they're from my department at Public Safety Canada and or in partnership with the Communications Security Establishment of the Defense Department. The fact that the largest Army land training base is 15-20 minutes away from here speaks to the, again, interconnected nature of having the appropriate cyber defense capacity and increasingly cyber offense capacity. And that's something I know that the National Defense Department is very invested in. So today's contribution is that. It's a way to continue to support your work. But the next step, and this Frank and I have been discussing, is to ensure a federal footprint on the campus in partnership with your Cybersecurity Centre. That's the next logical step in the Government of Canada supporting the great work you have done here, and I hope that we can bolt that in the coming weeks. So, taken together with Bill C-26, which is legislation currently before the House of Commons, I'm hoping, I don't want to jinx it, but I think it may receive unanimous consent to clear the House of Commons in the next 2 or 3 days. The Cyber Systems Protection Act, Canada will be able to do even more to prevent and defend ourselves from malicious cyber activity. As I said, the legislation is back before the House of Commons. We're hoping to get the consent to adopt it unanimously, as we did in the House of Commons before. Getting this legislation adopted will be another important step in strengthening our country's resilience to these attacks. It will further increase, and this, when I thought about today's announcement. Once the Act receives royal assent, it will increase collaboration and information sharing between the Government of Canada, whether it's CSIS, an agency in my department, or the National Defence Department. It'll increase our ability to share information with the private sector and with academic institutions like here at UNB. The consequences of security breaches are far-reaching, and that's why a consistent cross-sectoral approach is essential to ensuring the resiliency and the security of our economy. Your new Cyber Attribution Data Center will play a critical role in fostering that approach. Not only will it attract researchers from all over the country, it'll be an incubator for homegrown talent here in New Brunswick. And that's been the success of the model of the McKenna Institute, so I'm hoping in a small way this new center will complement the work that has been inspired by Frank's philanthropy and his donations and the center you've built here at UNB. Kids who grew up in the Maritimes and who want to study and work close to home in a field like cybersecurity will no longer be obligated to move to other provinces and bigger cities. They'll be able to work, research, and contribute in a cutting-edge way to what's happening in Canada and around the world by working here at UNB. Notre gouvernement continuera à renforcer la résilience du Canada et à veiller à ce que nos cyberespaces soient sûrs, ouverts, sécurisés, stables et accessibles à tous les Canadiens et les Canadiennes. So once again, congratulations on the remarkable work you're doing here. It's a privilege for me to, on behalf of the Government of Canada, announce a small investment. But as I said, Dr. Mazerolle, I hope we'll be back soon, because the country should know about and be inspired by the work you're doing here, and the Government of Canada should be a first-rate partner for you, and I'm going to continue to make sure that we're exactly that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister LeBlanc. That's an inspiring announcement, and one we're very excited about and privileged to accept on behalf of the UNB community. We're very pleased and excited about the opportunity to better fortify and develop our capacity through the CIC to really ramp up our cybersecurity infrastructure and train the next generation of cybersecurity experts. So thank you again very much. Colleagues, it's now my great pleasure, and I know my colleague Frank McKenna, the Honourable Frank McKenna, will also be, I'm sure, very inspired by this announcement. He'll be equally as happy as I am. Frank is the founder of the McKenna Institute, and a New Brunswicker who's well known to all throughout our country. So please make welcome to Frank McKenna to say a few words.
Well, thank you, Paul, and Minister. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you, everybody, for being here. With so many other things you could be doing, you've chosen to spend time with us. So thank you for that. Je suis ravi d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here on a Friday the 13th for such good news. We live in a world of explosive change. Half the world's population is online, and 650,000 new users join the internet every day. And that rate of change is accelerating, which I think is part of the reason why society feels at times upside down. It's a very difficult world to find peace of mind in. 5G is 100 times faster than 4G. And that's not to speak of generative artificial intelligence and sentient artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and so on. Change is inexorable. 90% of the world's data was generated within the past 2 years alone. We know that artificial intelligence is going to revolutionize fields such as healthcare and finance. And we know that it's going to be a great force for good in the world. Unfortunately, we also know it'll be exploited by malevolent actors, whether state or individual, to pursue their destructive agendas. It's been calculated that already cybercrime costs more than $3 billion per year in Canada. That's a number that's magnified all around the world. And so societies everywhere are preoccupied with how to protect the good that can come from this interconnected world and to guard against the bad. My children have listened to more speeches of mine than I would care to note, and they've told me whenever I tell a joke to give a joke alert because the jokes are so bad that otherwise people won't know it's a joke. So we're now totally possessed with protecting what we've created. Just this morning, I turned on my iPad and I coughed on it, and it triggered the antiviral software. That's not so bad, eh? What do you... Well, it's better than the one I told the last time, which was about what do you say to a hacker who has just broken up with her boyfriend? There's lots of fish in the sea. Well, you gotta get with the program. Now, an easy answer would be to simply restrict the introduction of these new technologies. Just say, no more. But that's not going to happen. As Albert Einstein said, a ship is safest when it's in the harbor. But that's not what they're built for. The Government of Canada was prescient in establishing the National Cybersecurity Strategy in 2018. This quickly resulted in the establishment of the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity within CSE and the National Cybersecurity Crime Coordination Centre under the RCMP, which the Minister owns all of these establishments. These were critical initiatives, but the strategy also envisioned a whole-of-society approach by supporting initiatives outside the federal government. In other words, a community of communities all working together the way things should be. And of course, that makes total sense. The threats are society-wide, and the response has to be society-wide. And that brings us to the announcement today to create the Cybersecurity Data Attribution Center at the University of New Brunswick. This center will be AI-based, will report actionable intelligence to key stakeholders. It will be a curating function, a communications function. It'll be a critical resource for storing and providing multi-layered access to cyber data from anywhere in Canada. And it'll have a critical human resource component that the ministers talked about, further developing critical talent. It'll really be part of a talent factory in cyber right here in the province. So why New Brunswick and why UNB? When we were in Israel last year, we learned a lot about Israel's world-leading capabilities in cybersecurity. But we also learned from them how much they respect New Brunswick and UNB as another world leader in this particular space. New Brunswick has an AI center at the University of Moncton, an AI data center institute at the University of New Brunswick, the McKenna Institute, which has attracted now some probably $70 million in funding for digital transformation, UNB Engineering and Computer Science, which has been rated the #1 institution, Luigi's here, #1 institution in Atlantic, Canada, of that nature, top 10 in Canada, top 20% in the world, Luigi, congratulations. And it's growing exponentially. The Faculty of Computer Science has doubled, and we now have 1,000 students in computer science all the way up to the PhD level. And UNB also has its own special sauce and its own secret weapon. His name is Dr. Ali Ghorbani, and he's been the catalyst for this breathtaking record of accomplishment in cybersecurity. New Brunswick is also home to the Canadian Institute of Cybersecurity with 100 dedicated professionals, Siemens Cybersecurity Center for Critical Infrastructure, IBM's Client Innovation Center, Talley's new National Digital Excellence Center, and I see Shane Murphy is here, as well as their Cybersecurity Ops Center for all of North America. We have more than 2,000 cybersecurity students who have graduated in the past 5 years. They say it ain't bragging if you've done it, and we've done it. In all, we have some 51 organizations in the New Brunswick cybersecurity ecosystem and over 40 cybersecurity companies with some 5,000 employees. So, of course, it makes total sense to be co-located here to contribute to this cybersecurity critical mass that's so important for the protection of Canadians. You might ask, what is the role of the McKenna Institute in this? Well, very simply, the Institute was designed to digitally transform the province of New Brunswick, and having world-class cybersecurity capabilities is a critical building block of that aspiration. The ability to advocate and the power to convene is at the very center of our mandate. Adrian, am I right? That's exactly what we do. I cannot close without thanking the two most important contributors to the announcement today. The Honourable Dominic LeBlanc is not only the Minister of Public Security, he's an indefatigable champion of all things New Brunswick and is a proud UNB graduate. Our announcement today is the serendipitous result of being the right minister in the right portfolio, coming from the right place, and having the vision and the drive and the energy and the credibility to bring a project of this complexity and importance to fruition. It is not easy driving a project of this size and complexity through government. Dominic, you're a true friend, every sense of the word, to me, to the university, and to this province. I would be remiss if I did not mention the strong supporting cast who made the minister's ambition become reality. In particular, the Deputy Minister, Tricia Geddes, was extraordinary in shepherding this file through the multiple ministries and agencies necessary for sign-off. And to her and the people who worked with her throughout this process, I just say a huge thank you, way beyond the call of duty, the work they did to get this across the line. She's proven to me once again that the expression entrepreneurial public servant is not an oxymoron. There are lots of them, and we're grateful for them. Now, finally, it's critical to acknowledge we would not be here today without the genius, credibility, and persistence of Dr. Ali Ghorbani. The province's world-class reputation in cyber rests on the shoulder of this man. Dozens of entrepreneurs owe their success to his inspiration, and thousands of cyber employees in New Brunswick owe him their livelihood. It's been a privilege to be associated with him, the university, with Dominic, and others involved in this journey. I am truly grateful to have such inspiring partners as we make this announcement today. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank, for those inspiring words. We couldn't have a better champion for not just New Brunswick, but Canada and UNB and the CIC. So thank you very much for your ongoing commitment and advocacy for this critically important work. So we're deeply thankful and appreciative. So thank you. We're very fortunate to have the Canadian Institute of Cybersecurity and the McKenna Institute at UNB. Unfortunately, today, the founding director of the CIC, Ali Ghorbani, is unable to be here as much as he wanted to be, but he has sent a video message. So through the power of the digital, he's going to join us. Ali, again, is the establishment director of the CIC, but also a Tier 1 Canada Research Chair in Cybersecurity for Canada, for UNB, which recognizes his recognition as an international expert. So Ali is going to join us in about 1 second.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ali Ghorbani. I'm the founding director of the Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity. I'm so sorry I could not be there in person to attend the announcement, but I wanted to take a minute and share a short message. This announcement marks a significant milestone for our institution, the cyber ecosystem in New Brunswick, and the cybersecurity landscape across Canada. We are excited to partner with the Government of Canada, specifically the Department of Public Safety, to support the establishment of a new cyber attribution center. The center will play a key role in improving Canada's ability to protect critical assets and maintain public trust in cybersecurity. Cyber attribution is the process of tracking and identifying the origin and characteristics of a cyber attack. The primary goal is to uncover the identity or location of the malicious actors and assign responsibility to a specific individual or group. The mission of the center is to leverage existing expertise in cyber attribution by developing new tools and skills to safeguard our institution and information. We will support initiatives to protect critical structures, develop comprehensive data sets, and produce insightful reports that inform our partners about emerging threats and adversarial tactics. By analyzing various data sources, including the dark web, we aim to anticipate and mitigate potential cyber attacks before they happen. Our efforts will be bolstered by strong partnerships with both public and private sectors. I have had extensive discussions with commercial partners and key government agencies, and it is clear that there is a significant demand and requirement for the work that will be undertaken by the Attribution Center. In addition to our operational goals, the center will also serve as a training ground for the next generation of cybersecurity talent. We are committed to equipping our students with the skills and knowledge they need to protect our digital future. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Minister LeBlanc and the Department of Public Safety for their unwavering support and involvement in this initiative. Your commitment to enhancing Canada's cybersecurity infrastructure is deeply appreciated. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to ACOR for their support and to the Honourable Frank McKenna and the McKenna Institute. Mr. McKenna has been an ardent supporter of our institute and the University of New Brunswick. His support for the Attribution Center initiative has been invaluable in getting this project off the ground quickly and efficiently. He is a true champion for the region. In conclusion, we are very excited about this project and its significant impact on Canada and Canadians. Together, we will build a safer and more secure digital environment for all. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, Ali. I know you really wanted to be here, but thank you for sharing those remarks by video. I know he was really did try to make his way here, but he had something he could not, previous commitment he couldn't change. And as you can see, he's very appreciative and excited about this this further investment. So with that, I want to offer formal thanks again to Minister LeBlanc and to Dr. McKenna for their kind words. Wonderful words and a wonderful announcement. To say that UNB is proud and privileged to receive this funding to bolster our innovative work in cybersecurity space would be a huge understatement. So we are absolutely delighted and privileged to be part of this continual evolvement of building capability and capacity that will make a difference for our region and beyond in critical infrastructure and boosting capacity and really trying to have impact in the cybersecurity space. So we really want to keep building this ecosystem so that it has not just a local but a regional and a national and international reach. We're on that journey, and we appreciate very much the investments of the Canadian government on this space. We obviously recognize that part of this goal is identifying malicious cyber actors, and this new center will help us gather data from a variety of different sources and apply the latest cyber attribution intelligence analytics to make a difference. There will be a series of practical outputs coming from this work. They'll include actionable intelligence and threat reports for cyber and national security challenges. by developing and refining the tools and methodologies fostering collaboration between industry and academia and providing training for the next generation of professionals in the field. I'm very confident that this new center will result in significant advancements in cyber protection, ultimately building a safer, more secure digital future for everybody. So once again, thank you for everybody who's been involved in Minister LeBlanc's, the federal people that Frank mentioned, Trish Geddes and others. They were absolutely instrumental. And again, thank to Ali and his team and the McKenna Institute for their support in this really important development. Of course, the CIC have been instrumental as well. Thank you all for being here. That's the end of our formal announcements, but we do have refreshments in the lobby. So can I please ask you to join us in the lobby for some refreshments? Thank you very much.
Monsieur McKenna, d'abord, que devrait faire Susan Holt face à la menace de tarifs de Donald Trump?
Susan Holt did what?
Right. It's okay. What should Susan Holt do as a former premier against the tariff threat of Donald Trump? What would be your take on that?
Well, my view, mon avis, the government of Canada has an extraordinarily strong case against tariffs from the United States. If you look at all of the trading partners in the world that the United States has, we're at the very low end of those that have a trade imbalance, number one. Number two, as a percentage of our trade, which is about the most in the world, it's minuscule. And number three, in terms of the quality of that trade imbalance, it's all around oil, which is to the advantage of the United States to get our unprocessed oil, unlike goods from China or Mexico or others that may displace American goods. So the case that we have is extremely strong on tariffs. Now, with respect to the border issues that were raised, I think the issues need to be taken seriously, but they're de minimis compared to threats the United States has from other quarters, and the minister's right on top of them. So there we go. Oh.
It's a scrum, man. Why are you on a tripod? It's a scrum. Pick up your camera and get in the scrum.
La menace, l'idée des tarifs d'exportation sur certaines ressources, est-ce que c'est sérieusement envisagé? Puis est-ce que ça pourrait faire mal à l'économie canadienne?
Moi, je suis d'accord avec M. McKenna que nous avons un argument important face aux Américains quant à la négativité de ces tarifs douaniers pour l'économie américaine comme pour l'économie canadienne. N'importe quel gouvernement responsable sera en mesure d'élaborer des plans de contingence. On ne va pas les discuter avant le temps opportun. On n'espère pas y arriver, mais si jamais les tarifs étaient bel et bien imposés, on aura à ce moment-là, comme il se doit, la réplique appropriée.
Les 70 millions de dollars que demande Ottawa, que demande Fredericton à propos de la TVH, y a-t-il une ouverture à l'offrir?
Non, nous n'allons pas rembourser ou... nous croyons que c'était important d'offrir une baisse de la TVH à Noël. Le gouvernement de l'Ontario ne réclame pas ça, le gouvernement de Terre-Neuve non plus, le gouvernement de l'île du Prince-Édouard non plus. Alors, je suis tout à fait confiant qu'on va travailler avec le gouvernement de Mme Holt à trouver la solution, mais il n'y a pas de question d'un remboursement dollar pour dollar, non.
Mais Susan Holt dit que selon son interprétation, vous êtes obligé de rembourser ces 70 millions-là si rien d'autre se passe, s'il ne renonce pas, dans le fond, à les collecter. Vous, c'est quoi votre interprétation?
Moi, je ne suis pas intéressé à faire des interprétations publiques à cet égard-là. Je suis tout à fait confiant qu'on va avoir des discussions fructueuses avec le gouvernement du Nouveau-Brunswick. On s'est entendu avec le gouvernement de l'Ontario, Terre-Neuve et Labrador, l'île du Prince-Édouard. Moi, j'imagine pas que le gouvernement du Nouveau-Brunswick veut, à une semaine de Noël, être à l'encontre d'une baisse de la TVH pour les gens du Nouveau-Brunswick. Alors, j'ai pleine confiance qu'on va trouver la solution appropriée.
Mais le congé de la taxe s'applique, peu importe le transfert de fonds, si je comprends bien. C'est juste que...
Absolument, la loi, ça commence le jour de ma fête demain.
Right. Mais je veux dire, légalement parlant, contractuellement parlant, est-ce que Ottawa peut retenir ces fonds-là ou est-ce que vous avez la responsabilité de les donner au Nouveau-Brunswick?
On ne va pas avoir une discussion théorique, juridique en public.
Mais
Comme j'ai
qu'est-ce
dit,
qui va se passer, Monsieur le ministre?
mais je vais vous expliquer qu'est-ce qui va se passer. On a réduit la taxe pour les gens du Nouveau-Brunswick. Nous sommes très fiers de ça. On a annoncé $1 milliard pour l'énergie propre au Nouveau-Brunswick dimanche. Et on va continuer d'investir au Nouveau-Brunswick comme dans d'autres provinces.
Minister LeBlanc, we're hearing from some small communities in New Brunswick who are concerned that RCMP resources might be moved away from their communities to be part of any kind of response at the border. Is there any merit to that? Is there any message that you have for those communities that are concerned about that?
Well, we obviously understand the importance of small communities in relying on first-class services from RCMP members. It's true in my constituency. It's true across the country. It's not the first time that the RCMP make contingency plans for a potential surge. All across the country at various moments, the RCMP are reassigning personnel to deal with an emerging crisis. So that's not new. They have all those plans in place. But I completely understand the concerns of local municipal leaders about the reliability of policing. The Commissioner assures me that at no moment will there be inadequate police coverage. But I think we have as a country a responsibility to ensure the continued security of our border and to show our American partners that we take the shared responsibility of border security seriously. So we can do both. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. It's not an either-or proposition.
On the topic of security at the border, is this something that the federal government is going to take charge of, or is this something that you'd like to hear ideas from each of the provinces, including New Brunswick?
Well, the federal government obviously has primary responsibility. The federal government obviously has primary responsibility for border security. The Canadian Border Services Agency, the RCMP, do that work. I participated this week in a conference call the Prime Minister had with all of the premiers, and we were very encouraged by the very specific suggestions that many premiers made about the possibility of having conservation officers from some provinces assisting in visible border security or visible observation points at the border. Some provinces were getting into the types of marine vehicles that would be available. So there really is an effort that's very encouraging for provinces that are able to contribute to do so in partnership with us. I'm absolutely convinced the Government of Canada will take its responsibility, of course. We'll be announcing some pretty significant border security measures in the coming days, but I'm encouraged also by the province's willingness to support this important national effort. And in fact, it's a binational effort because the security of the Canadian border depends, as it has for decades, on work that we do jointly with the Americans. So it is not a responsibility that Canada in any way is diminishing. The good news is we've done that successfully with Americans for decades.
What do you think of the federal government's, or what does the federal government think of Doug Ford's threat to cut off electricity to the states?
Premier Ford has offered his views on what might be a response to unjustified tariffs should they come into place. Premier Ford, I've gotten to know Doug Ford and like him over the last number of years. He's certainly able to speak for himself. Other premiers have offered views on what might be the appropriate response. The good news is the Government of Canada will work with all of the provinces to prepare contingency plans. Any responsible government should do that. But our hope is to work with the incoming administration of President Trump to see if these tariffs either would not be imposed or if ultimately they decide to do that they'd be very short-lived.
So we're hearing about Ford threatening to cut exports. 3 other premiers say they won't in regards to energy. How are you going to manage taking on Trump without a united message?
I'm convinced I don't accept the premise that we won't have a united message. We're weeks away from this becoming an actual economic measure. premiers surprisingly answer questions from journalists when they're asked, and they don't all have the same views. That's as old as Confederation. But in the meetings I've been in and in my conversations with premiers, they recognize the importance of the country speaking with one voice in the face of what would be a very, very serious economic threat to Canada. And we also believe an economic threat to the United States if this were to go ahead.
I have a question from a colleague here. Premier Holt says that she's not going to waive New Brunswick's right to compensation for lost revenue for the GST holiday that's coming in tomorrow. And she's saying that she may be even prepared to go to court over it. The tax holiday, it does start tomorrow. Will the federal government compensate New Brunswick?
There'll be no direct compensation. We've made that clear. We've come to Premier Ford, Premier King, Premier Fury. The Prime Minister had an encouraging conversation with Premier Houston earlier this week. They recognize the importance of participating in this tax break for Canadians at this time. I'm convinced we'll come to an understanding with the Holt government, exactly as we did in the other 4 HST provinces.
She just participated in a scrum, and the Premier could not sound more confident that she's going to get that money. Well, why is she presenting such a confident appearance that she's going to get this money back?
I don't speak for the government of New Brunswick. That would be a good question to ask her. I've told you I've participated in conversations with the other premiers. We're happy about the tax measures that are coming into place tomorrow, and we're also happy about the work we're doing with the government of New Brunswick. Literally this week, I was in Dieppe with her finance minister announcing over $1 billion of federal investment in renewable energy. And on the conference calls with premiers earlier this week, other premiers, not from this part of Canada, but from another region of the country, were complaining about the Government of Canada spending $1 billion on renewable energy in New Brunswick. So this is part of our federation. I'm not particularly worried about it. I'm confident that we'll continue to do a lot of good things with the Government of New Brunswick. Earlier today in St. John, in partnership with the Government of New Brunswick, we announced $18 million for an affordable housing project. So I'm convinced that this partnership will be very good.
Oh, sorry. Go.
Can we expect Monday's fall economic statement to essentially be your border plan in reaction to the Trump tariff threat? And how quickly will it be possible to increase boots on the ground and resources along the border?
So you asked 2 questions. I think that the fall economic statement Monday will contain a number of elements of an increased posture and increased investment at the border. We've said that we'll be investing in technology, in drones, in helicopters, and aircraft, and we'll also be increasing the personnel at the border. The Border Services Agency, for example, recruits 500 people every year now. The Commissioner of the RCMP has increased the recruitment and the number of troops that go through depot. We're going to continue to ramp up. We hope the recruitment and retention of these enforcement personnel. We'll have more to say about that next week. And the fall economic statement will be part of our border plan. Other elements will come out in the subsequent days as well. And one of the most important things that we're going to do in the coming days as well is find an opportunity to share with the incoming Trump administration many of the details, for example, that we shared with the premiers earlier this week as well.
So how quickly will that increase if the boots on the ground happen?
There'll be, starting next year, hundreds of additional people recruited. But I know you're very excited about the fall economic statement Monday. I'm sure most Canadians are. You're probably very excited about announcements that I may make in the days after the fall economic statement. So I wouldn't want to scoop myself with this very exciting news. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thanks, everybody.